Hello and welcome to the Content Show. It's episode 18. Who would have thought we'd make it? Today we're talking about the content gap and why content is able to drive some companies forward and be really underpin their success, and why other companies, often larger multinational companies, are missing out. Today, as usual, I'm with the Brains Trust, David Austin, our editorial content director, and Artur and Simon, our scripted content director and Singapore's most famous Russian comedian. Hello, guys.
Hi, Simon. How are you?
Hello.
So the content gap, and we've just published a blog on this, which first of all, it talks about the fitness company F45, which seems to have woven content and sharing data and information with its clients, its customers, in a seamless way. And it's what I find is really interesting, because F45 is just going gangbusters, really successful business. But from a fitness point of view, it doesn't really match where some of the other gyms are in terms of the mirrors and the equipment. It's actually also more expensive.
Right.
But the content seems to be tying a whole community of exercisers, of gym junkies together in a way that's really powering their business forward. It's really interesting. Artur, you actually came up with the idea for this the other day when we were talking about it in the content show. What do you think it is about F45 that really works?
Well, I think, as you mentioned, quite a lot of companies, they might be focusing on the digital transformation in general. And I think they mostly talk about optimizing the processes. But I think content as the main kind of bullets which communication rifle shoots to hit the objectives sometimes is kind of like overlooked. So like you can transform and optimize everything in the product production, like operations and everything. But if you don't communicate well internally and externally, it doesn't matter. And I think this F45 is a great example of how you focus on community and really go all in on the content marketing, and how then it basically drives your business results and lets you perform better than other bigger chains.
What I love about it is it's content first, but it's really about using content as part of the user experience, and putting customer first, but digital customer service as well as face-to-face customer service first.
Absolutely. It seems like they were able to kind of strip out all those expensive amenities that were part of the consumer experience, like you said, like mirrors or whatever, nice carpeting, air conditioning, TV monitors, and move all of that to the virtual content experience and like the community experience. And then their actual product, they've just pared down to their hardcore workout that works. And then they don't have to worry about any of that frilly stuff.
Yeah, and then they gamify the whole the content experience as well. You can share it, you can level it, compare yourself to your peers. It's really fascinating. What are some of the examples of other companies that have done it well?
I've actually just read today in the morning Axios newsletter another example of how companies can be really lean and adjust to the current situation. So Walmart is actually announcing a partnership with Tribeca for organizing Tribeca Film Festival, and there is a big comeback of drive-in movie theaters. Basically, they will be repurposing some of the parking lots into the moving theaters. So they will be having like a car with 4 people maximum in it, and then you have like 2 parking lots, then another car, and then you basically watch the movie. And I think that's an amazing approach. And again, like you're utilizing your properties and then repurposing them. And also in the same article, they mentioned that the music tour promoter, Live Nation, actually announced also the first ever drive-in concert series, where there will be like the band on stage, but then people will be again like in the cars, but they can just party near their car. So it's kind of like mini parties there, so you can watch it plus on the huge LED screen. So a lot of innovations, and people just adapt.
If this car's a rocking, don't come a knocking.
Exactly.
I think that's awesome. I haven't been to a drive-in theater since the 80s.
Yeah, same here.
Artur, you're a bit younger than us. Have you been to a drive-in at all?
Actually, no, never.
They used to have these chunky big speakers made out of die-cast metal, and you'd have to pick them up off the off the hanger and then hang them off your
window.
Yeah.
You roll the window with crank roll the window down halfway, put the speaker on there, and where in my neighborhood the local drive-in would do. They would show classic old 50s horror movies. So even though it was in the 80s, we could go see, like, I watched The Blob with Steve McQueen in a drive-in theater. That was a lot of fun.
I used to love it. Like, it was a great family experience too. Like, you get in there, and if it was winter, you'd have all your blankets and you'd get snacks and
bring the popcorn and everything. A lot of fun.
Wonderful. So we're going to move straight on into our branded content picks of the week, and this first one is utterly amazing. I can honestly say I was on the edge of my seat. This is by Maersk, which is the shipping company. I've got a feeling they may actually be the largest shipping company in the world, but I can't confirm that. But it's like a horror film. It's a thriller. It's amazing. 4 minutes, and I was completely absorbed.
Yeah, and it's the trailer, and apparently there's an actually full-length film that's available as well. But yeah, I've had Maersk kind of on my radar for a while. They have a really good content. They share a lot of really good content. And for a shipping industry, which is one of the older industries, their look and feel and everything is very modern and high tech. And I think they just do an excellent job of moving their 18th century industry into the 21st century.
Kind of talking about the content gap, right? So that there will be some traditional industry companies who will be adapting all these latest digital marketing and content marketing techniques, and they can get such an unfair competitive advantage in comparison to some other big guys, and it just basically helps to reshape the pie.
Absolutely, I think I guess it's about doubling down on what you're doing and the other thing about the Maersk one is it's done so well. Like it's class A Hollywood style production.
Yeah. And I just fact checked for you, Simon. It is the largest shipping company in the world right now.
Fantastic. Right, the second one is from Motionlab. It's an animation that shows off the history of coffee. And to me, this really shows how to do original content.
Yeah. We at ClickTV, which also started experimenting with some original content creation, including some animation videos, and that's another great example. And the guys basically took the topic that everyone is passionate about, who doesn't like coffee, right? And then they just decided to dig it out, and basically just the fun fact from research that there was some guy who was walking around with goats, and goats bite the coffee, and then they started going crazy. He also tried, and he was dancing with goats, and then some monks saw it, and that's it. Like you already have a story, and then you just add beautiful visual to showcase your creative skills, and a lovely piece of original content.
Excellent. Now, Boston Consulting Group. This is an interesting one. Why are there so many Afghan accountants? I actually had no idea that there were a lot of Afghan accountants, but what I like about this is it's kind of a step aside from the usual type of content you might expect from a consulting major. Yeah,
and I guess it's just maybe in a way it's not really clickbaity, but it's just a very interesting hook, right? They grabbed our attention, and then you watch it, and essentially, I think he's the partner. So the guy from Boston Consulting Group, he's talking about the data-driven companies and the simplification of the data you're collecting. And they were doing the research with one of the banks, and they found out that 10% of their audiences are Afghan accountants, and they thought that's absurd. What's going on here? And then they digged it out, and apparently it's just because of the drop-down menu. The first country is Afghanistan, the first position accounting, and people just don't bother. They just click Afghan accountant and they just keep going on. So that was a really fun experience. And then they basically said that for one of the clients, they decreased the amount of fields from 217 to, I think, down to 7 only, because all the rest were basically confusing, or they already collect data that is inside the company. and the only one that are actually driving the business results and useful information are only a few of them. So I guess that's a good approach from big consulting group that working with MNCs, but I guess everyone can implement it.
There's so many things to take out of this. Like the first thing is be interesting, which is very hard often for corporates because they don't want, they're risk averse. They don't want to stand out. The second thing is like, finding a story, like actually find out what's interesting and tell that story like a journalist would. And then of course there's the whole user experience side of it, which they're demonstrating their digital literacy by creating a user experience that doesn't prompt people just to click the first field just to get through that process to then presumably download the white paper or the actual the interesting piece of content that the customer is looking for.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah,
and we talk all the time about using data or telling stories from data, and this is like a really good angle on that. Finding some little piece of some little nugget in the data that you're collecting for another reason and spinning it off into an entire piece of content that's interesting to everybody.
Awesome. So the final one we're going to talk about is Mercedes-Benz. We've got a really good roundup of content this week. Mercedes-Benz have a whole series looking at job satisfaction from the point of view of a crash test dummy.
Yeah, exactly, because we can all relate to that, right? But it's a very fun approach because, again, like you're kind of bringing the value aspect and kind of the product aspect of safety of your cars, but you're not just telling like, oh, we have the safest cars, right? You're just creating like a characters, you're personifying them, and basically like one of these crash dummies having a midlife crisis that's something that people can relate for, and then they just make it in a very fun way. So yeah, you relate, you have a laugh, but then again, like the message is that they're so safe that even the crash dummies get bored.
These cars are getting too safe. It's just boring.
It's our job to make cars safe, Fred. You need a thrill. Get transferred to a motorcycle department.
I said I was bored. I didn't say I was having a midlife crisis. Don't you me?
Bum ba dum bum bum bum.
Excellent. Well, guys, thank you very much for this this short version of the content show. We decided to make it a bit shorter and sweeter this week, so it's easier to consume. So thinking of our audience as well. Thanks very much.
Thank you, Simon. Appreciate it.
Take care.
Excellent, and thank you for watching. That's episode 18 of the content show. Hit subscribe, press like, hit the bell. Thank you very much.